All right. Good evening, everybody. How you guys doing? Hope everybody is doing good. So if you don't know me, my name is Daniel, and I'm pumped to be on tonight's Finance Friday back in the game. So it's going to be good. So thank you guys for coming on again. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate quite a bit. So today's topic is photographer's insurance. I'm going to keep this nice, short, sweet, and simple. So it's going to be good, and we're going to have a lot of fun here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen quickly. We'll get right into it. This is intended for videographers, photographers, possibly content creators, but mainly photographers and videographers in that space. Whether you are a freelancer, whether you're looking at getting into it and taking it, taking this seriously, as a business or future career, or whether it's your own company, you have a corporation, you have maybe employees and staff. This is who I'm talking to. So if you know someone as well that's in that space, send this video to them as well afterwards. I'm going to post this on Facebook, put this on the gram, check my bio afterwards, and you will have access to it. So again, if you're a photographer, videographer, or you know someone that's what they do as their source of income or one of their sources of income, this video is for you because it's a topic that's not really talked about. You don't see it often in social media. And it's really on how do you protect your business as a photographer or videographer. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. Give me a quick sec. Okay, perfect. You guys should be able to see my screen here. Now, photographer's insurance, what most people don't know, and I'm going to keep this, I hope, relatively brief. If you have any questions and you're on YouTube here watching this, type it in the comments. I will respond. Send me a message if you have my number, or if you're on Facebook and you're watching this on replay, put something in the comments there as well. And I got no issue going back and checking it out. So photographer's insurance, what most people do not know. Okay. Now I'm really gonna, one way to take a look at this as well is 5 ways to protect your business that need to know about photographer's insurance. And a little bit before I do that, a little bit about myself. For those of you who may be watching for the first time, I run a practice with my family. I've been in the financial services industry for just over 3 years now. But as a family, we, my folks started in this space for over a decade, and that whole story is a whole nother conversation. But really, we got started because we saw a need in the lack of education when it came to money and finance. And whether you were a business owner or you were, your everyday, average family, when it came to money, it was something that wasn't really talked about, unfortunately. And so what we did is, and what my parents did is they took that, upon themselves to learn, and then ultimately, wanted to do something where they could pay that forward and teach others. And so growing up with that, I've seen the impacts of having a good financial education. I've seen the impacts of not having one. And so that's a big reason why I got into the industry. And so part of the reason why I'm here right now talking with you guys is because, I did some videography a couple of years ago. I have a lot of friends in this space, and insurance and investments is what I specialize in, especially when it comes to insurance with business owners. And so I really hope this will provide some value in that sense. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to get right to it, share my screen, get to the chase. If you're watching the replay, you're in for a treat. So what are the risks? So 5 ways to protect your business in the photo/video space. Now, what are the risks? And by this, I mean, what are the risks of you running, your own business? Whether you're freelancing, whether you have a company, right? If you are a photographer or a videographer, what are the risks that you might encounter? So number one is accidents, right? So whether it's you or the client that you're shooting for, what would happen if someone got injured, right? A common scenario could be, if you're setting up, your tripod, let's say it's for a wedding, and you have the cable running, to charge the camera or whatever that is, for the mic, and someone trips over, right? Somebody trips over and they fracture their ankle or their arm or something, right? They got injured, right? And that was essentially, your fault. Well, what's going to happen, right? What if they go, and this goes to the next thing, what if they file a lawsuit, right? Your client loses money, property gets damaged. What happens in that case, right? Those are some of the risks that occur. And thankfully, and ideally, I hope it doesn't happen a lot to you, but it's very real when you're dealing with equipment, right? When you're dealing with people, you do enough gigs, you're on enough sets over time, something is going to happen. And so that's the thing, accidents, right? And what about yourself? What if you got into an accident? Whether it's something like a car accident, whether it's, on set, right? Something happened to you, you can't shoot anymore because an accident on set. What if it's something completely outside of the business? What if you're, if you're an avid snowboarder skier, you go off a jump and, you break your leg or your arm or something, right? Or something happens outside of your sort of peripheral of work. Well, your work's going to be affected, right? Especially in this space, is you have to be mobile, you have to be doing stuff. So if you can, because of an injury or illness outside of your work, outside of this environment, then what do you have to protect that, right? What does that sort of look like? So there's accidents. Second is lawsuits, right? Thankfully, being up in Canada, lawsuits don't happen as often as they might have to our counterparts in the U.S., but it can still happen, right? And lawsuits can occur for a plethora of reasons, so many different reasons, right? It could be an accident, right? It could be someone tripped over your wire, they fell, they got injured, and it could be serious. And as a result, they're going to sue you to compensate for lost income or for rehab and physio, things like that, right? They might sue for that. They might also sue in case, and I'll break this down in a second a little bit more, but if they're just not happy, right? Or if the client loses money because of your negligence or just they think they lost money, right? People might file lawsuits for all reasons, right? That is a risk. It's a very real risk. And then lastly is equipment damage or loss, right? So this one is very, this one definitely sucks for sure, because no one ever wants it to happen to them. But if your car got stolen and your gear was in it, what happens, right? If you drop your gear in the water, if it breaks, if someone steals it, if there's loss or damage to your equipment, that's a very real risk because that's your livelihood in that sense, right? So those are some of the major risks in this particular field, and today just going to be quickly going over what are some of the things that you can have in place to protect against these two risks. Okay, so number one, right? The 5 ways. Number one is general liability insurance. Okay, and I'll break down what these mean. Okay, in a quick second. You have general liability insurance, also known as commercial general liability or commercial liability insurance. Then you have number 2, which is errors and omissions insurance, also known as professional liability. Then you have health insurance, right? So for personally, for your own health, whether it's health and dental or insurance to protect your health. Accident insurance, if you get into an accident or if it's an illness, just to replace sort of some of that income and compensate you as you're recovering. And then lastly is life insurance, and this is actually very overlooked in this, especially in the freelance space, and mainly, especially if you're a breadwinner and this is your main source of income, something happens to you, God forbid, you pass away prematurely, again, God forbid. Well, what do you have to protect the business, but also to pay off some of the debts and things like that? Okay, so I'm going to break these 5 things down right now. Now, number 1, general liability insurance. Okay, again, also known as commercial general liability. Pretty much, this covers if someone gets injured or property gets damaged, right? If you're on set and your camera falls and it breaks, something else that's on the person's property, or your vehicle does something, whatever happens, right? If property gets damaged or someone gets injured, this is when liability insurance typically would cover, right? So if a client claims physical injury, right, and medical costs are incurred, they're going to come after that, and general liability insurance will cover that. And it covers if there's property damage, and it can also cover if there's reputational harm, meaning the defamation, slander. If a client says, copyright issues, oh, you posted this and this makes us look really bad, and they want to sue you, or they're coming after you for that. And if it goes through, then this is when the general liability insurance will cover. So mainly those things. Generally speaking, it will cover if there's someone gets injured, right? Not you, but someone else. One of your clients gets injured, or their property gets damaged. Okay, general liability insurance will cover that. Today's day and age, a lot of companies and clients are typically requiring you to have this coverage in force before they even write up a deal or a contract. Why? Because it protects them as a client as well. Not only does it protect you, but the client knows that, one, you're serious, right? Because if you're serious, you're going to get some of these things. Why? Because you're thinking longer term and you're trying to get bigger clients as well. So for the client, it knows, one, they know that you're serious. 2, they also know that the client is protected because they know that you got coverage. If something happens to them as a client, hey, they're okay as a client, and obviously you're going to be okay. That's a part of the reason why you get insurance in the first place. Okay, so general liability, it's the most common. When it comes to pricing, it really depends on which companies you go with and stuff like that. But this is the most common. Typically, it's a requirement or prerequisite for most contracts that are coming up nowadays, especially if you want to get into dealing with business owners and larger corporations. This is almost a must-have. Okay, legally, no, it's not required, But like if you want to start making money, this is highly, highly, highly recommended to have in place. Okay. General liability insurance. Second is errors and omissions insurance, also known as professional liability. So this one is a little bit more of the intangibles, if you will, but this is if your client loses money, right? If your client's business loses money, then errors and omissions typically will cover that, right? So they come out and sue you because the client, they're not happy, or you made some mistakes in the editing, or, an example could be, let's say, you're putting together their video or their photo package, and then your laptop gets destroyed in a fire, and then you lost all that content. Well, that fire was not the client's responsibility. So the client can still actually come after you and sue you because you did not deliver according to whatever was in the agreement or what was in the contract, even though the fire was out of your own, like it was completely out of your own control. But you didn't deliver to the service agreements, you didn't deliver to the terms and conditions, to that contract, and they can sue you for that because that costs the client money, right? So that's where errors and omissions insurance comes into play. Really, if you fail to complete your end of the bargain, and it caused the client to lose money, then and they sue you, this is when errors and omissions come into play as well. Again, this is not mandatory, but it is recommended to have. Thirdly, we got health insurance. Okay, now thing is, especially if you're self-employed or even if you have your own company, generally you don't have typical group benefits, right? Because if you're not working for a company, right, that gives group benefits, and you are your own self, well, what if you had your own personalized benefits package? And some of the things what this does for for a freelancer or someone getting into this space, covers things like dental expenses, right, unforeseen health expenses or issues that may arise. Because the last thing that you want is if your income is based off of you working, the last thing that you want is well, frankly, like you can't work because of whatever health reason, right? And you don't want to be going out of pocket to pay that. So this sort of covers some things like that, as well as things like massages, prescription drugs, eye care, etc. Right? So having your own personal health insurance, regardless of where you're going, which company that you're working for, if it's your own personal plan, it sort of stays with you everywhere you go. So health insurance, having your own health benefits, essentially benefit yourself, right? In that case, it keeps you up to speed. Then we have personal accident insurance, right? What happens if you're the one that's in the accident, or as opposed to the client, right? Because you have insurance to cover that. This is for yourself, right? And this covers whether you're like on the job, whether you're off the job, 24/7, typically across North America. So this protects your income in the event of an accident, disability, or even illness, right? So especially if your main income is generated from from doing video or photo, what would happen if you can't work because you're trying to recover from illness, right? Whether it is COVID, whether it's God forbid it's cancer, whether you do get into a car accident, how is your income being replaced, and how is it coming in? And that's what this does, is it protects against that, especially if you are a breadwinner. Again, if you have people that are dependent on you financially, right, then it makes sure that either your company isn't at risk and that your family isn't at financial risk. If you own a company, but you still bring in the majority income within your company, then at least this will help compensate and give money back to the company, or even to either hire someone else or make sure that you're able to recover at a much faster pace, because there's income there, there's cash flow coming in, so you don't have to honestly be stressing a lot about things financially. And lastly, it provides a financial safety net in case there was a sudden illness or accident, right? And then we have the last one, which is personal life insurance. And like I said, at the beginning, this is one of the ones that's pretty overlooked, because we think life insurance. We think, okay, well, like, why would I need life insurance? But it's actually very crucial, because what this allows you to do is, if you pass away, again, God forbid, prematurely, if you have a family or dependents, then it allows, think of it like this, you're going to work a lot. And what insurance does is it pretty much gives something to prove all the work you've gone to do, right? From a tangible aspect, right? If you're leaving your family, you're leaving your wife, your kids, your husband, to go to work and to do, to shoot your videos, to shoot your photos, to get on the set, to close those deals, you're spending time away from your family. And if God forbid something were to happen and you don't come back home, or you passed away, well, what do you have to show for that? And this is one of those things that you can give back to your family, 100% tax-free. And if you own a company, this actually allows you to create money within your company, right? So It supplements any lost income for your family or company if you were to pass away, right? So at least it's able to replace that income. Again, it's tax-free, so your family does not have to struggle financially, and they can take the time to mourn. And if it's for a company, then at least the company has that money there in those funds they can use to train or to hire someone else and to cover sort of that gap if you're bringing in a lot of that revenue. It helps supplement any debts or final expenses that arise, which typically do. So if you owe any money and funeral costs and things like that, life insurance will cover all of that. And if you're a corporation, getting a life insurance policy on your company, what that does is it allows you, someone passed away, that's tax-free cash instantly in your company that allows you to take it out of your company without paying taxes. Again, potentially, but majority of the time that's the case. So it allows money to flow out of your corp tax-free potentially for corporations. And then lastly, if you're the breadwinner, again, like I said at the beginning, it leaves something behind to your family to prove your hard work was worth it, right? You're putting in all those hours, and at least, hey, if you were to pass away, God forbid, and it's like, you know what, at least my family has X amount there. They won't have to worry financially, and they can take the time to mourn and to do what they have to do. So that's personal life insurance. And if you get it now, at least you lock in those rates. So when you do start to scale your business in your company, at least you have a foundation financially, and you have some of those safety nets. And so really what this allows you to do, let's go back here. There's 5 ways. It really allows you to have financial safety nets in case something were to happen. Because the biggest thing that takes most business owners out is being unprepared for the unexpected. It's not the unexpected that will take you out. It's if you're not prepared for it, right? And so, I mean, for myself, even though I'm not in the space, I still have my own personal policies on me because, hey, you know what? I'm not expecting to get sick or to pass away prematurely. But hey, what if it does happen? Right? At least my family will be in a good position financially if something were to happen to me. And so think of it the same thing as well as in your case, whether it's your family, your company, your corporation, hey, something happens to you financially, whether it's a lawsuit, an accident, an illness, a premature, a death. Well, what do you have in place to protect those risks, right? There's 3 risks that we talked about in the beginning, to protect your business, your practice, and I mean, ultimately protect the dreams that you have inside of you that you're trying to go towards and that you're trying to make come true. Hey, something happens. How do you know that's going to continue moving forward? Right. And this allows and gives sort of that protection, that safety net that allows you to operate your business with peace of mind and not having to worry about, well, what if this happens? What if I lose this? What if I lose that? And so one thing I do want to add before I wrap it up here, when it comes to general liability insurance, when we're talking about equipment loss, one thing to note, your car insurance will not cover if someone steals your vehicle and there's your equipment inside. So if you have $5,000 worth of gear inside your vehicle or $10,000 worth of gear and someone steals your car insurance typically will not pay that out. Okay. So a lot of the time you can actually have sort of that equipment loss or damage protection built into your general liability insurance policy. If you already have a broker, awesome, talk to them. If you don't, hey, shoot me a message or send me a DM and we can at least chat and see like maybe what might make the most sense. Can't guarantee that, it's not a one size fits all, so everyone's sort of different, but I'd be more than happy to at least help you guys out and sort of get the ball rolling for you when it comes to the insurance side of things. That's what I do. That's what I've specialized in. And so if there's a way that you see that, hey, a couple areas I want to protect my business now before I start to scale and then continue to protect it as I scale, awesome. That's probably the best thing to do. Build that solid financial foundation, have the safety net, and know that you're working from a place of not fear, but a place of preparedness. And hey, you're ready for the unexpected, right? So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I'm getting back on Finance Friday. So if this is helpful, please share it, like, comment, subscribe, do your thing, but be great, stay blessed, and have an amazing night, you guys. Take care. See you guys next week. Adios.